By 25, your body has already started its first measurable physical decline. Not in middle age, not eventually, at 25. Right now, inside your cells, your DNA is being attacked over 100,000 times per day. Zombie cells are lurking in your organs, leaking chemical poison onto every healthy cell around them. Your cellular power plants are slowly cracking and leaking toxic waste into the very machinery they are supposed to fuel. Before we go further, subscribe to Human Decoded. We break down your body every single week. Aging is not wear and tear. It is not simply running out of time. It is a set of specific, identifiable biological programs running simultaneously that researchers have spent the last 2 decades finally mapping. Here is what is actually happening inside you. Let's start with the most disturbing mechanism of all. Every cell in your body has a division limit. After approximately 50 to 70 divisions, the cell detects that it is reaching its boundary and locks itself down. It stops dividing permanently. This is not a malfunction. It is a built-in safety mechanism to prevent damaged cells from multiplying out of control. But here is where it goes wrong. These retired cells do not simply die quietly, they stay alive. And instead of doing their job or getting out of the way, they transform into something destructive, pumping out a toxic cocktail of more than 50 different inflammatory compounds directly into the surrounding tissue. They damage neighboring healthy cells. They degrade structural proteins. They recruit more immune cells into the area and drive a sustained inflammatory response in organs and tissue that should be healthy. Scientists call them senescent cells. Most people call them zombie cells, and they are an accurate name, alive, non-functional, and actively spreading damage to everything around them. By age 60, senescent cells can account for 15 to 20% of the cells in some tissues. Your immune system is supposed to hunt and destroy them, and in youth it does. But as the immune system itself ages, its ability to track down and eliminate zombie cells declines. The zombies accumulate, the damage compounds, and the low-grade, body-wide inflammation they generate, researchers now call it inflammaging, accelerates cardiovascular disease, metabolic dysfunction, and cognitive decline simultaneously. Inside every chromosome and every cell in your body, there is a countdown timer. At the tips of each chromosome sit protective caps called telomeres, long repetitive sequences of DNA whose only job is to protect the chromosome ends from fraying. Think of them as the plastic tips on a shoelace. You are born with telomeres approximately 10,000 base pairs long. Every time a cell divides, the copying machinery cannot fully replicate the very end of the chromosome. So each copy comes out slightly shorter, not randomly, predictably, by a set amount. The countdown ticks forward with every division. When telomeres get critically short, the cell's monitoring systems detect the danger and trigger the lockdown you just heard about. The cell stops dividing. The zombie phase begins. This is why every act of division brings every cell one step closer to permanent retirement. And it is why telomere length is now considered one of the best measurable indicators of biological age. Two people born on the same day can have telomere lengths reflecting a 15-year difference in how fast their cells are aging, driven entirely by lifestyle, stress, diet, and sleep. Cancer cells have hijacked the solution to this problem. They activate an enzyme called telomerase that rebuilds telomeres after each division, making them essentially immortal. This is one of the core reasons cancer cells replicate without limit. Your DNA does not sit untouched inside your cells. It is under constant attack. Heat damages it. Ultraviolet radiation from sunlight physically breaks the strands. Your own metabolism, the act of breathing and burning fuel, generates highly reactive molecules called free radicals that crash into DNA and chemically destroy nucleotides. Copying errors during cell division introduce new mistakes with every replication. The total count, over 100,000 molecular assaults on the DNA of every single cell, every single day. Your cells fight back with an army of approximately 50 different repair proteins that sprint along the DNA, detect breaks and chemical damage, and patch them before they compound. In a young, healthy person, this system catches almost everything. The overwhelming majority of damage is fixed before it can spread, but the repair proteins themselves are encoded by genes, and those genes accumulate damage over decades just like everything else. By your 60s and 70s, the repair crews are running slower and missing more. Errors slip through, mutations accumulate in cell lines that have been copied hundreds of times over a lifetime. Cancer is not bad luck. Cancer is what happens when enough of those accumulated, uncorrected mutations land in the same cell in exactly the right combination to switch off growth control. The reason cancer risk skyrockets with age is simply that the repair system has been running and degrading for longer. Inside each of your cells sit hundreds to thousands of mitochondria, the power plants that convert the food you eat into ATP. The energy molecules molecule that runs every biological process in your body. Mitochondria have their own DNA, a remnant of their ancient origins as independent bacteria absorbed by our cells billions of years ago. And this internal DNA sits in the most oxidatively hostile environment in the entire cell, with almost none of the protection that your nuclear DNA has. As mitochondria accumulate damage, their efficiency drops. They produce less ATP per unit of fuel consumed. But worse, damaged mitochondria begin leaking the very toxic byproducts of energy production back into the surrounding cell, damaging other mitochondria, breaking DNA, and degrading the cell membrane. It is a self-reinforcing collapse. Damaged mitochondria create more damage. The damage creates more dysfunction. By age 70, mitochondrial function in muscle cells can be 40 to 50% lower than it was at age 25. This is the direct cellular cause of the fatigue, muscle weakness, and physical decline that people attribute simply to getting old. The most powerful intervention known is exercise. Sustained aerobic training triggers the formation of fresh new mitochondria, mitochondrial biogenesis, and activates a cellular quality control process called mitophagy, where the cell identifies damaged mitochondria and destroys them before they can leak any further. No drug currently approved for any condition replicates this effect. Aging cannot be stopped, but its rate is not fixed, and the variables that control it are more accessible than most people realize. Exercise acts simultaneously on all four of the mechanisms described here. It maintains telomere length in adults. People who exercise regularly have telomeres equivalent to someone a decade younger. It reduces the accumulation of senescent zombie cells. It rebuilds mitochondria and clears the damaged ones. And it measurably resets epigenetic patterns, the chemical tags on top of your DNA that determine which genes are switched on or off, and which drift badly with age in sedentary people. Intermittent fasting, periods without food, triggers autophagy, the cellular recycling process where damaged proteins and cellular debris are broken down and repurposed before they accumulate. Caloric restriction is the only intervention shown to consistently extend healthy lifespan in every species studied so far. Sleep is when DNA repair runs at maximum capacity. The brain's glymphatic system, a fluid-clearing network that is almost inactive during waking, opens up during deep sleep and flushes out metabolic waste that would otherwise accumulate in neural tissue over years. Chronic stress keeps cortisol and inflammatory signaling chronically elevated, directly accelerating the inflammaging process. It is not a peripheral risk factor. It sits at the center of biological aging. Your cells carry a built-in countdown in their telomeres, shortened with every division. When the countdown ends, cells become zombies, alive, non-functional, and actively poisoning surrounding tissue with 50 different inflammatory compounds. Your DNA absorbs over 100,000 attacks per day, repaired by systems that degrade with age. Mitochondria accumulate damage and begin leaking toxic waste into the very cells they power. And all of these processes compound and accelerate each other. This is not wear and tear, it is a program with specific, identifiable, measurable steps. And the most powerful tool for slowing it down costs nothing and is available right now. Follow for more. Every video, we go inside the body and explain exactly what is happening. If your body just surprised you, subscribe to Human Decoded. We do this every week.